I made shorts for 90 days to answer one single question. Because I'm sure you've heard this idea that you have to make short form content in order to promote your long form videos. Short form content is the best way to grow an audience right now. But I never wanted to make it. That's until Charles told me something. Roll the clip.
Channels that publish shorts not infrequently see a greater long-form performance than if they hadn't.
So to finally answer the question, does short-form content bring in long-form views? I designed an experiment to upload short-form content based on my podcast conversations for 90 days. And the result is quite simple until you look at the bigger picture. Then it becomes a little bit more complex and there's a longer answer to it. But before we get to that, let's look at the numbers and see what actually happened. So in a 3-month window between the beginning of September and the end of November 2025, I published 86 shorts. So somehow I missed 4 days here and there, but I don't think that really broke the experiment. From that, I got 45,000 views, which sounds good at the beginning, but when you break that down per short, it's really not that much. And most surprisingly, I got 19 subscribers, which I really didn't expect. But the question I was trying to answer, did those views translate into long-form viewership? And the simple answer to this is no. The shorts did not drive interest in the podcast. So that could mean that I just suck at making short-form clips. That is a totally reasonable answer to this experiment, that I should just hire somebody who really understands how to make podcast clips that engage people. But also something else happened in that time. And that is, I released 2 videos with fairly large creators on YouTube, and they were collaborations. So people that watched their channels automatically saw our conversation. And that feature that takes 0 time on my end had a way bigger impact. Like those 2 videos brought in way more new people to the channel than all the shorts I ever made combined on every single platform. So the easy answer here is I'm going to think more about who is a great guest for the show that I would love to collaborate with and who brings in the right audience. Because, side note, Ariel was one of the collaborators and her audience really loved the conversation. They were so excited to see it. I also had a podcast with Project Air, and the initial comments on that were kind of the first hate comments I've ever seen. It was like, get this podcast out of my feed. If you upload another podcast, I'm going to unsubscribe. And I was like, whoa, okay. So that taught me a valuable lesson that not every fan of every creator wants to hear about their journey. I think some creators lend themselves more to it than others. And that was a really interesting realization. But bottom line is, making collaborations is a much faster, much easier growth tool for me in particular, for my podcast channel, than shorts have been. But then there's another thought I've been having about shorts, because maybe I've just been completely using them wrong. I think the first layer of shorts is that you use them to build an audience quickly, right? With short form content, you can relatively quickly build a relatively large audience if you love making short form content. You can also go a level deeper and use short form content as a marketing tool to promote your long form videos or your product or whatever. There's even apparently a clipping economy around this right now, simply driving interest in another piece of media. But I think I found a third layer to it, because recently I rediscovered the one-page content strategy that I found through Patty Galloway and I shared in the Orbit newsletter about a year ago. Basically, he says you want to build a foundation of content that works based on what you've been putting out, and then test a bunch of things once you have a stable base, which sounds eerily similar to the Invincible Company, but that is a different video. Now, the thing is, making a long-form YouTube video is an investment on the creator side and is kind of a high risk. I can only put out so many videos. I mean, in April, I didn't put out a single video. So what if I can increase my tests without increasing my workload too much? And I think this is where short form content could really, really shine as a testing ground, as a validation engine for me to put out ideas and see how people respond. Because while most shorts I've ever made look like this, they like whoop, go up and then flatline, a few outliers have this like consistent upward trajectory. That means that there is a continued interest from an audience that are actively engaging with this topic, with this idea. So that tells me if I have a list of 10 videos and can't decide which one to make next, I can simply make a row of 10 shorts very quickly. 3 things you need to know about spending a year on LinkedIn. And people respond to that. Then I know, oh, let's make a whole video on LinkedIn itself. Because one of the biggest struggles that I see a lot of creators have is choosing the next video. And this is one solution to this problem, but I also found an even simpler solution to that, which you can see in this video.